Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to the Healing Experience, 2 weeks of classes. Let us start with 2, 3, 4 minutes or so of silence, just to rest and open consciousness. Make the group receptive to what we will hear. Let us set the scene correctly, straight away, truthfully, right from the start. Only God is. Therefore you are that. So who have you been praying to? Who have you been reaching to? What have you been reaching to? What have you been sitting in silence for? What do you hope will happen? What do you hope will manifest or demonstrate or be evident for you? You are that. Therefore, if you do not know your truth, you are actually reaching into untruth right away. You think you are reaching to God. But if you're reaching anywhere, you're reaching into untruth because you are the only presence, the only being, the only body there is. If I and the Father are one, then we're both right here. And in fact, we're not both, we're one. I is the Father. We've heard all this, but we keep forgetting it. So we have to right away, and this is how you work, in pondering, in contemplating, in lifting yourself to your truthful identity, which doesn't have anything to reach for, because it already is everything. You ponder the truth that I is the whole of God, and God is finished. My consciousness is the whole of God. This very consciousness, I am, is the consciousness of is. The whole of God not only is embodied in and as your consciousness, but is your consciousness. There's nothing for God to be embodied in. That would take something other than God or outside of God, and God finds a way to embody himself in it, making himself or herself or itself available to that which he or her or it has embodied itself in. Nonsense. I is the only. The consciousness I'm conscious with is the consciousness God is conscious with, because there is no other consciousness. I is the Father, the God, the consciousness, the truth. I is that. Do you not know that ye are gods? If you don't, you'll reach to a God, and instantaneously you're reaching falsely, because there's nothing outside of you to reach to. You are that which your mind thinks it needs to reach to and gain something from. Health or harmony or abundance. We are going to stick with our sense of body throughout these 2 weeks, but the same applies to everything. We can get, and sometimes need to get, more specific, just so that the mind can calm down and start realizing what it already is and has. But right now, we will concentrate on our sense of body. The mind calls it physical. The poor old mind. It doesn't know what it has. But let's concentrate on this facet of being. So we reach into what we hope is truth so that we can gain health or gain healing. Well, right there we are reaching falsely, and if you want to test the truth of that statement, find out what the result has been of you reaching to God for your health. If God really was reachable through you reaching up to it or him or her, and God is love, and God doesn't withhold, then instantaneously you reached to God, you'd have your healing. But God doesn't have any healing to give, because God is the fullness of itself, fully embodied, as your consciousness this second. So the first thing we must realize is that if we ever find ourselves, first of all, accepting that there is something wrong with us, truthfully we're speaking of, if we ever accept that we are ill or diseased or injured or incapable of body or mind, in any way whatsoever, we are immediately out of truth. And then we spin around trying to correct or heal or pacify or harmonize that which we believe or have accepted is wrong with us, our body. Don't ever again, if you are serious about truth, and I know you are, admit that you are ill. I hear it all the time. I am ill. I have a cold. I have flu. I've broken my leg. Well, in truth, you first have to detach yourself from that belief. You have to lift into your truthful identity. Otherwise, you can spend the next 1,000 years trying to reach for God to find healing, and you won't succeed. Your truthful identity, and we'll speak about the experience of that cold or flu or broken leg or illness, disease in a minute, because there's no doubting the experience. But the experience isn't you, it's an experience of the mind. So, the first thing you have to do is recover your conscious awareness of your truthful identity. And until you've done that, you're wasting your time trying to understand truth or reach to God for healing. What is your truthful identity? Let's hear it again. Do you not know that ye are God? Lowercase g for sure. But nevertheless one as God. There is no other one. There is no other presence, awareness, consciousness, body, experience. You are that. I and the Father are one. I is the Father, is the oneness. You are God's, every single one of you. Everything, everywhere is God, without exception, because there is only God. I am that I am. I am that. I am I. And then silence. Nothing else to think about once we've lifted ourselves into truthful identity. And what is I? Let's remind ourselves. And we've had a good dose of this in Healing of the Body, but I've noticed that there are some friends on this 2 weeks that did not go through the Healing of the Body series. So let's remind ourselves, and believe me, I have to remind myself every single morning and sometimes every single day. So don't you dare say that I've been through the Healing of the Body series so I don't have to hear it again. Really, let's see it. Let's see the fruits of that awareness that you're living. God is infinite. God is the infinitude. That means you are. Don't you know you are that? You are infinite. You are the infinitude. Yet, take a look around your experience and tell me whether you know that everything of you, everything of your experience is actually the infinitude. Or are you fooled into believing something or everything is finite? God is omnipresence. That means the whole of God is right here. In the tip of a pin, the whole of God is right there, fully present. Everywhere you may observe is the whole of God fully present, established, finished, fully visible and tangible, and yet, take a look around your experience. Are you fooled? Do you think something is missing, incomplete? Do you think evolution is still taking place? Do you think there's a tomorrow? Do you think something greater can happen tomorrow or be evident tomorrow than it is now? Do you think something lesser than can be evident tomorrow than it is now? Well then, you're not in omnipresence. God is incorporeal. Don't you know that you are God? Therefore, don't you know that you are incorporeal? Well, take a look around your experience. Can you see anything, or do you believe anything to be corporeal? Well, then you're not in truthful identity. You are incorporeal. Your whole consciousness is incorporeal. It cannot possibly evidence anything that is anything but incorporeal, because there isn't anything but incorporeality to evidence. So if you think you're witnessing something corporeal, you're mistaken. You've been fooled by the senses. You've believed the senses as being something of their own selves. So you're not in truthful identity. God is invisible to the five senses. Is there anything about you that you believe to be visible? Well, you've fallen into the five sense belief. So you're not in truthful identity. You see, we have some work to do, and we have some work to do each and every hour. And if we don't do that work each and every hour before we even step out into our experience, we are in trouble, because that experience is very, very hypnotic, and it will find 1 billion ways, or even just 10,000, to dupe you this hour into believing the way it appears to be. And we all know that. Yet in truthful awareness, the world cannot touch you. In truthful awareness, the sense of body we call physical, and the sense of illness or disease or injury that we equally call physical, is impotent. In truthful awareness. If you drop down from truthful awareness and start being concerned about appearance, or concerned about what the world wants to tell you is happening, or how the world threatens you, or how your body does, then you'll witness your body and that illness and that disease and that injury seeming to have all the power over you that it could ever muster. But lift back into truth and it's impotent. Right here and now, it is impotent. It cannot touch you, because there isn't any you to touch, and there isn't any corporeal illness or disease or injury that can touch you. It's actually nothing. Literally and actually, right here and now, nothing. And you can prove it. All day long you can prove it, but the only way of proving it is to lift into truthful consciousness. And let me tell you what happens when you lift into truthful consciousness. You can't find yourself. You can't find you anywhere. You can't find your sense of you. You can't find your sense of body. It's all gone. Don't worry, when you open your senses again, it'll be right there. But now infused with bliss. With the light of bliss, the light of incorporeality, truth, God herself and himself and its self, and the world cannot touch it. And anything that seemed to be wrong with it will be whole and well and free again within the hour, or thereabouts. Got to stay in truthful consciousness, though. That's where it is. Doesn't exist anywhere else. God is shining as the fullness of itself, as your consciousness, this second. If you want to look for God, turn into your consciousness, and there he is, there she is. This second, there it is, there heaven is. If you've been a good boy or girl, when you think you die, do you want to go to heaven? Well, in that case, you're going to go right to your consciousness. You're going to go right to where you've always been. But you can go there right now. You don't have to drop this so-called physical thing. You can go there right now, because it isn't physical right here and now. It is incorporeal consciousness. I am incorporeal. I am the incorporeal. Son, daughter, I am ever with you, and all that I have is yours. I am ever you. I am consciousness. You have consciousness, and actually you, your entirety, your entire universe is nothing but consciousness. And I am that. I am being me as you. And because I am indivisible, the whole of me is yours. Right here and now. You want some of me? You want to see some of me? You want to see some miracles? Then turn to your consciousness, because there the miracle is. You are the miracle. Don't you know that ye are gods? Well, don't you know that ye are the miracle? You are the miracle that Jesus witnessed. You are the feeding of the thousands. You are the healing of the thousands. You are the liberty. You are the peace, the harmony, the omnipresence. There is none else. Don't you know that? Well, that's okay, but now know it. It's easy, just know it. Know the truth, and that very truth will set you free. How can it do that so quickly? Because your truth is already free. You are I already. You are what I am already. You are God already. You are omnipresence. You are the eternal, harmonious, blissful, free, infinite body already. And nothing of the false sense can touch it, because false sense is just what it says, false. There's no reality, there's no entity in false sense. I am the only entity. And what am I? Consciousness, omnipresence, incorporeal being. There is no other being. We should never have started giving names and giving words and creating dictionaries for the sense. We've really confused ourselves. There is no actual corporeal, actual matter, actual locality, actual object. We should never have named such false ideas. Only God is, therefore only the incorporeal is, and you are that. Only omnipresence is, and you are that. Only infinite presence is, and you are that. Only bliss is, and you are that. Only purpose is, and you are that. There is nothing about me, nothing about my entire world, no single grain of it that is anything but consciousness. Therefore I must lift into consciousness alone. I must lift into the incorporeal, in which I've shed all material thinking. I am thinking now only of the incorporeal spirit. Omnipresence, nothing local, nothing corporeal, nothing nameable, no shape, no form, no condition, but pure incorporeal presence. I am consciousness. Consciousness does not exist within me somewhere. God does not exist within me somewhere. God is every grain of me. And that is consciousness, incorporeality, nothing local. Take a look at your hand. And what you are seeing through the senses seems to be finite, corporeal. You can feel it. You can hear it if you wave it around. You can see it. But now realize, close your eyes to it, and realize that actually the whole of the infinite exists right there. The whole of omnipresence exists right there. The whole of God, the whole of truth, the whole of everything you've been looking for exists right there. Now, where have you been looking for it? Where have you reached to try and find your harmony, to try and find God? As what have you been trying to find God? As what? A healed body? A harmonious, happy, free body? Well, describe body. Describe what you've been trying to witness God as. And if you're honest, you will be able to describe it. And the minute you can describe it, you've failed. Because God is indescribable. So only as you lift into an indescribable consciousness, that's maybe a good way of understanding it. Only as we have lifted sufficiently into incorporeal awareness of being, so that we now have nothing we can or wish to describe, are we ready to start truth. No truth is available to experience before we've lifted right up into an incorporeal consciousness in which there is nothing to describe and nothing we wish we could describe. We've lifted, and we need to lift, into such a state of conscious, living awareness of the truthful I that I am. And that is God itself. So the I thought I was has now dropped from consciousness. We are so filled. We're like a balloon filled with bliss. Filled with the presence that is truthful presence, always living itself as us. But we've been so deterred by the senses, we can't even feel an ounce of our truthful presence. I suppose we can feel an ounce. That's what appears to be the physical body. But it's such a poor ounce, it's really not worth even considering. Lift up into the incorporeal consciousness. Work at it, work at it, work at it. I am incorporeal. The very presence that I feel happening as my presence isn't anything I thought it was, but is God. And the presence is living itself in all its fullness without a single name in sight, without a single condition in sight, object in sight, locality in sight. Because the presence you are is infinite. The presence you are is infinite omnipresence. The presence you are is infinite, omnipresent, incorporeal eternity. The whole of life is what you are. You are that God in which and as which and through which life is evident. If you seek any other type of God in any other type of place, you're out of truth. I am the God of my universe. Think about that. I am the God of my universe. Therefore, all the life of your universe comes from you. Is you evident? If you're reaching up into some kind of God you think isn't you, for life, you've failed right there. You are that God. But what of you is that God? Consciousness. Did you know that your consciousness knows nothing about you? You didn't, did you? You thought your consciousness knows everything about you. You are God walking around. You are God being. You are the very presence of God. God knows nothing of you, does he, she, it? And again, right there, I can hear some moans and groans. If you still think that God does know something about you, you better read the first sentence of Joel again, or the first sentence of The Miracle Self again, or the first sentence of Mary Baker Eddy again. God knows nothing about you, as you know yourself to be. And that's why God can't fix you, help you, heal you. And that's why as we keep praying to God for our sense of illness or disease or disharmony or loneliness or unhappiness or frustration or sadness or whatever it might be, dollars, again, let's not stray off into other experience. Let's stay with the body. If you are praying to God, meditating, pondering, sitting in silence, so that your sense of illness or disease or injury can be healed, that is why you do not witness it. Because God knows nothing about your sense of illness or disease or injury. Your very own consciousness doesn't know anything about it. because your consciousness is God. So what knows something about it? What is being the foolery of it? The distorted sense of it? The mind. Actually, I'm going to retract that and say it isn't the mind, it's the intellect which believes foolishly what the mind presents. The mind is innocent. We should stop blaming the mind. Let's stop blaming the mind from now. The mind is innocent. The mind is just a looking glass. You can't blame the looking glass. You can blame that faculty of sense which believes what the looking glass is presenting as being something of its own self. So it's the intellect that is the problem. It is the intellect that believes that which the five senses and three dimensions of this current experience of mind presents. And that intellect, that belief in that which appears to be, is God and. Is the tree of good and evil. God and. And because it is attached to its belief, or we can say attached to that appearance, that which appears to be, it is stuck there because belief and the attachment of belief is the stuckedness of experience. That is that seeming entity which will not yield. That is the problem which will not yield, will not heal. But the minute you let go of that attachment and realize that the whole world of appearance is nothing of its own self, it's only an image, and you then turn your back to it and you go right up into consciousness and lift into truthful identity, then you can so very quickly be free of that which seemed to be, free of that which seemed not to yield. You don't even have to ask God for anything. Your consciousness is already the free and perfect body. It's sitting there fully embodied this very second, eternal. So do you see, when you take the intellect away, then you have that free and beautiful, perfect, divine body still looking like your body because you're looking through those five senses and three dimensions, but now free of the intellect. Now you can observe your body and experience your body, even if this minute it appears to have illness or disease or injury. It doesn't make any difference. That's just an illness or a disease or an injury of the intellect, and it isn't real. It's a darkness of awareness, is all. So now you can observe and experience your body in and as God consciousness, which means in and as the consciousness of incorporeality. Observe your body right now. Feel your body. Feel the sense of your body. And realize this is the infinite I am sensing. This is omnipresence I am sensing. Because there isn't anything else. God is incapable of being anything but itself. And the reason that is that there isn't anything but God. So what I am sensing this very moment is actually, before the intellect is disguising it or distorting it or fogging it, misperceiving it, is this very second the fullness of perfect and eternal me and body. I am eternal. I am the eternal. I am God. lowercase g, but I am God. I am the life, the body. Never local. Don't ever believe that you are local. How can you squeeze the infinite into a little finite thing called this body? You are the infinite. You are the incorporeal. You are the omnipresence. You are the eternity. And nothing the intellect tries to do or thinks it has done affects the truth of you and your body ever. All you have to do is turn to your truth of you, your truth of being, and there is the fully healthy, vital, eternal body of you. I am ever with you, and all that I have is yours. Not tomorrow, not after you pray, not after you meditate, even not after you sit in silence. This very minute, your body is the body of God, the body of Christ, the body of Buddha, the body of illumined, blissful, eternal being. If you want to feel it, if you want to experience it, then lift up into truthful identity so that your false sense has disappeared from your consciousness. In other words, you've so filled your conscious awareness with truthful identity that you've completely lost that false sense. You've forgotten about it. Now sit in silence in truth. I am that truth, and I'm sitting in the silence of myself. Don't ever sit in silence so that God can come through it. I know we've heard these sentences, but it's time to lose them because they can be confusing. Sit in silence of yourself, of your lifted consciousness that is now aware of its truth, that is God, incorporeal, omnipresent, eternal, infinite, invisible, non-local. Sit in the silence of that consciousness you are now being, and you'll quickly witness the truthful body. And the rest of the world calls it healing. But nothing's happened other than truthful identity has been gained. In awareness, not gained in any kind of actuality, but gained in awareness, lifted into a living awareness. I am the God of my universe. I am the God of my mind. I am the God of my intellect. I am the God of my body. I am the God of my family, my home, my neighborhood, my country, my world, my universe. Do not seek life anywhere but in and as your consciousness, shining through as the life you witness through the five senses. Do not seek God anywhere but the very consciousness you are, otherwise you will fail. Stop trying to personally own your consciousness. There's the mistake. My consciousness versus his or her consciousness. Rubbish. There's only one consciousness, and it is God. Speak to God right here as you. Don't worry, God won't miss you. God will only miss you, miss your speech, miss your communication, if you speak in a foreign language, as we heard in the spiritual kingdom. You speak in a foreign language and God doesn't even know you're speaking. And that foreign language is the language of objectivity, locality, corporeality, finiteness, humanity. Speak as God to the God you are. Speak the language of incorporeality, of spirit, of omnipresence, of eternity. Show me eternity right here. I'm open. I'm not looking for anything temporal. Show me infinity right here. I'm not looking for anything finite. Show me omnipresence right here. I'm not looking for anything local. I don't want anything local. I know that there isn't anything local. Show me the omnipresent harmony of the whole of my universe. I am the God of my universe, so let me be the omnipresent harmony that feeds my universe. Let me never walk around in a false personal sense, only caring about me. Let me never want something for me. I am the God of my universe, and the whole universe is turning around looking for that which I am. So please help me be open. Help me be that God that I am for and as my universe. Otherwise, all those people seeking God will miss God because I'm not on the watch. I've fallen asleep into some personal sense and only want something for me. I am omnipresence. I am the infinity everyone's seeking. I am the bliss and the peace everyone is seeking. I therefore have to be it. And how do I do that? I maintain the consciousness of incorporeality, the consciousness of omnipresence, never, ever, ever local or personal presence or personal or local harmony or peace or abundance or health. Never. I am the life, the health, the body. So let me help all these people. Let me be there as the conscious presence for the whole of my universe, as incorporeal consciousness that can keep feeding everyone who wishes to have it with its incorporeality, with its omnipresence, with its universal harmony, peace, love, home, family, joy, truth. I am the truth everyone is seeking. So I have to be that truth, otherwise what use am I as their God? They're in my consciousness, they're my people. What use am I if I am not being their God? The Christ consciousness, the Buddha consciousness, the incorporeal light, shining forth universally, unconditionally, without judgment, never locally, never for one yet not the other. I am the light of the world, the Master told us. And you are that also. he told us. I am the light. There is no other. I am the body. There is no other. I am the God. There is no other. But be careful. When I have lifted into a pure incorporeal consciousness, then I can accept that I am the God I have been told we all are. Do you not know that ye are gods? But that God that we each are, the God that we each are, the presence we each are, is completely non-local, impersonal, incorporeal, omnipresence, eternally so. Right here and now, eternally so. There isn't any tomorrow. There isn't any 1 minute hence. Right here, you are the eternity that God is. And if you weren't here, God would collapse. Because you are that. Eternity would collapse if you were not here. You literally are that. Again, do you not know that you are that? You are the life. You are the life you witness anywhere. If you weren't here, all that life wouldn't be here. Because you are it. You are the home. If you weren't here, there wouldn't be any home. Anywhere, for anyone. You are that. Do you not know that? Well, then start knowing it. Because until you do, the whole of the rest of this message, the whole of the rest of all the miracle self and everything so-called past of the miracle self and of Joel and of every truth teaching is a waste of time in terms of being able to evidence it. Because truth is only evidenceable in and as truthful consciousness. And that is incorporeal. I am and we each are having a corporeal sense of that which is 100% incorporeal. That sense has no power. It is not an entity. It is nothing, therefore, to have to deal with, not even consider. Do you fully realize that? You never have to consider, and you must not consider that which appears to be, particularly that problem. If you consider your problem, you're not in truth. If you think it needs to be considered, if you think you need to somehow hold that problem up in the light of God, you are mistaken. Let it go. You do not need to give it one more second of thought. You do not take your problem to God. What or who ever said, take your problem to God? Do not do that, because there is no problem in God. That's like saying, take the dark to the sunshine. Have you ever tried to do that? You'll spend an eternity, because you can't even grab hold of that dark, because it isn't an entity. And nor is your problem, nor is the whole corporeally sensed experience an entity. So if you try to grab it, if you try to even grab it in mind and take it up there to God so that God can shine His light on it and heal it, you're going to fail. There isn't a problem in God. And because God is infinite and omnipresent, you are that, and all you have to do is lift into that consciousness to witness only God as your entire experience. All you have to do is let the sun shine into your experience and all the dark is gone. You didn't have to take thought for that dark. It's gone when you have light. In the same way, the very same way, when you are being the incorporeal consciousness, when you've forgotten all about yourself and your world and particularly your problem, and you've lifted into that blissful state of truthful consciousness that is incorporeal, omnipresent, eternal, there is your truthful mind, body and world. Well, let's stop there. We'll have a 30-minute break and carry on at 4:30.
I hope you enjoy this spiritual audio. Like, share and subscribe for more.